Good evening and welcome to El Oso Fumar Takes. I am Bear Duplessis, your host as always, live from the Casa Cueva studios of Euless, Texas. This is our 47th take, and I am so excited to be bringing this take to you guys. Thank you everyone for tuning in. This is going to be an awesome take tonight. We got two incredible guests, and I could not be more excited to have these two gentlemen, especially in wake of this past week with the Boston Red Sox claiming the AL East Division Championship. It's awesome, and it is absolutely my pleasure to welcome in Misters Mike Bellody and Barry MacDonald of MLB Cigar Ventures. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Great, man. Thanks for having us.
Good, Bear. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
the pleasure's mine, guys. The pleasure is absolutely mine. So excited to have you guys. You guys are posted up at a fantastic cigar venue up in your neck of the woods, Mickey Blake's. Awesome,
We are.
awesome, awesome cigar shop.
One of the greatest, and I have to thank Lou and Marco and the Mickey Blake's crew for letting us set up here.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And you guys actually had an event tonight at another venue.
We did. It was just down the street. It was actually at a golf course, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to do this thing. And we're like, we were going to set up at the golf course, but we got a little chilly out there tonight. We're not in Euless, Texas, so
Right.
it's a little cold up here these days. About 50 degrees right now with a little bit of breeze. So I reached out to my friend Lou at one of the owners of Mickey Blake's, and he said, "Yeah, man, and come by and let's do it here."
Fantastic. Yeah, it actually got down to 77 today.
I'm sorry to hear that. You okay?
That's really tough.
You all right there?
Yeah, I mean it was it was rough, but I got through it. I mean the problem the last couple of weeks down here has been the rain, but
Right.
it's still hot and humid, and it's terrible. but
Yeah.
but again, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was absolutely awesome. I got to meet both of you all for the first time at the IPCPR trade show this past year, back in July, and it was awesome.
I hope you had a good time.
Oh, had a
Yeah.
great time. So Mike holds the crown of delivering to me the most amazing piece of salmon that I've ever had in my life.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
So wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily prepared by you, but you are responsible for it. So have to give credit where
I
credit
hired
is.
the chef. That's it.
Yeah, I think the chef did a great job every night preparing meals during the trade show.
It was an awesome event and
Yeah.
just fantastic. I mean, like my family's from your neck of the woods. My father's from the Northeast, and we know seafood. So when you say the best piece of salmon you've ever eaten, I mean that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
I'll tell you. We went into this thing, and I have to give my VP of branding, Alexandra Kling, a lot of credit because she handled all of that. I said, listen, we need to hire a chef what Bear's talking about is for the IPCPR this year, rather than staying at the Westgate with the neurovirus, we had rented a house, and instead of entertaining our clients at restaurants, we hired a chef, and we brought the chef in, and we entertained at the house we rented, and it was a awesome time, and I'm going to do it again next year. So it was incredible, and Alexandria did the chef sort of hiring part of the process, and it went really well. The chef did a great job.
She absolutely did. It was tremendous, and Barry and I got to know each other that night, we relished in our affection and our love for Boston area sports, and talked
We
Red
did.
Sox,
Yeah.
Red Sox for about an hour. But no, given my given my age and everything, Barry and I weren't talking David Ortiz and Jason Varitek and Bloody Sock. There was a little bit of chatter about that. No, we were busting out the oldies but the goodies, man. We were talking Yaz and Jim Rice, Darrell Evans, Fred
So
Lynn.
listen, Bear, I got to tell
The
you a story.
70s and the 80s. I mean, yeah.
Bear, let me tell you a story. I don't. We can get into this a little bit if you want later.
Absolutely.
My entry into the cigar industry was with El Tiante Cigars. I owned half of El Tiante Cigars, and El Tiante is the nickname of Louis Tiant. So
Of course.
who was a legendary, winningest Cuban pitcher in Major League Baseball history, and should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way.
Should be in the Hall of Fame, absolutely.
Anyway,
No doubt about it.
So I took my son, who's 14 years old, golfing at a tremendous golf course a few weeks ago, and in front of us was Jim Rice golfing with his wife and his granddaughter. So I had an opportunity where he was coming off the tee box, and we were about to go on the tee box, and I called Louis Tiant, and I said, I'm going to put Jim Rice and Louis Tiant on the phone together. So I call Louis Tiant and I said, hey, Mr. Rice, I hadn't talked to Jim when we were there. It was just the first interaction I had while we were playing. And I said, hey, someone wants to talk to you. And he said, who is it? And I said, you know who it is. Don't worry. He goes, I need to know who it is. I go, it's Louis Tiant. He goes, put him on speakerphone. And then from there, the conversation was unbelievable. And the two people that we got paired up, my son and I got paired up with, were like, did you just hand a phone to Jim Rice and have him talk to Louis Tiant? I go, yes. They go, we need to know the connection. I go, well, I'll tell you about it later. But basically, you've seen me smoking cigars all day, right? And then I gave him the story about the El Tiante cigars and what I do now.
Oh, man, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Awesome. Jim Rice is a great guy, by the way.
Yeah, it was such a thrill for my dad to see him get into the Hall of Fame. He's still holding out for Louis Tiant.
Louis should be in, and the shame of it is that he's probably going to get in, but it'll probably be after he's passed away. I mean, he's not young anymore. He's a healthy guy, but
yeah.
First off, number one, Louis Tiant is one of the greatest people I've ever met. I love the guy. My kids call him Uncle Louis. So he's a tremendous guy. And it's a shame that he's not in the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Hall of Fame for sure.
A guy that won 20 games 4 times, not in the Hall. It's crazy.
His numbers compared to some of the guys that got in,
it's not close.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Had the pleasure of meeting his son actually last year as well. And that was pretty much a bulk of the discussion, was just how I thought his father was completely robbed. But you're absolutely right, Mike. The Veterans Committee, is meeting only in specific years, and they're blocked for specific eras. And as we just know, Tiant's era just came up, and he missed out. Jack Morris, who I believe is a Hall of Famer, and Alan Trammell, who I believe is a Hall of Famer, but not as deserving as Tiant, were the ones that got in this time.
Louis been on the ballot numerous times for various reasons, and he just can't. For whatever reason, he's not getting it. But he'll get in when he's dead, which is a sad thing.
It's so unbelievably sad. But justice will be served one day, because his plaque will be in Cooperstown in a rightful place.
I only hope that his loved ones get to see him get in the Hall of Fame, even if he doesn't get to see himself get in the Hall of Fame.
Right. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So that sums up how when we met, we hit it off. The three of us hit it off basically because of our affiliation and our love for our affinity for Boston area sports and everything. But you guys do make cigars and do make some fantastic ones at that. So
we do our best.
So Barry, I wanted to talk to you a little bit specifically. You and I had a great conversation, but I'd love to share your thoughts on the project. You've got 2 lines under this project now. The David P. Ehrlich, I'm smoking the Tremont, which I.
As am I.
Fantastic.
Right, as am I.
Oh, awesome. Guys, we didn't even plan this, everybody, so I just want everybody to know that great minds think alike, clearly.
Yeah.
Boston Red Sox fans and smoking the Tremont from the David P.
By the way, great hat, by the way.
Thank you.
Throw that out there.
It's the commemorative David Ortiz final season hat. So
I like it, Bear.
And you guys just did the national release for the PLM.
Correct.
Back in June, and then this is the original one,
the original Ehrlich.
And I loved the PLM guys, but as I was smoking it at that party that night, I was confessing to Barry that I still dig this one. The original is definitely got my heart out of the two, but they're 2 incredible cigars.
Mm-hmm.
But Barry, so what for those people who don't know, everyone who's tuning in, you can see the band, very classic, very classy, very old school.
Yep.
And before you get into this story, I gotta come clean about something, gentlemen. And Barry, I think I told you this story, so I'm not totally coming out of left field here.
Go ahead.
When I first heard of this cigar line, and I saw the label and everything, I was unfortunately a little unenthused, because I was like, what's the deal there and everything like that. Smoked it, very impressed. And then I got the history behind it, which Barry's about to share with us, and it completely changed my outlook, and I just absolutely dig it. So Barry, tell us a little bit about David P. Ehrlich and the label that is on the PLM and the Tremont.
Okay, so David Ehrlich is a company that goes back 150 years, Boston-based retailer. Started out on Washington Street in Boston in 1868, and over a period of time moved to a few different locations, Tremont being the last location on Tremont Street in Boston. So the company's been around 150 years. The logo is a 150-year-old logo. When Mike and I got together talking about using the logo for a private label cigar, we took the logo and just altered it a little bit. The original logo had a man smoking a pipe.
Well, it was a
We
pipe. That's
changed
right.
it. We changed it so to make it a man smoking a cigar. But the company has deep roots in Boston. My family got involved in the business back in 1973. My father went to work for the Ehrlich family. He came out of the department store business, and he saw an ad for a job. The Ehrlich family owned a company called Terrain Department Stores. So my father went on an interview for a merchandising job with Terrain, and things didn't really work out for that position. And as he was exiting the interview, they said, would you might be interested in looking at another business that we had? And it turned out being the two stores at that time, which were David Ehrlich on Tremont Street and Levitt and Pierce, which is a store in Harvard Square that my brother still runs today. And he said, sure, I'd like to look at it. So that my father went from transitioning from the department store, big company business, over to the tobacco business, and that was in 1973. He went to work for the Ehrlich family in 1973, bought the business from the Ehrlich family in about 1981 or 82, and I was introduced to it in the late 80s as a college student, and that's when I first started working for the company and the business. So I met Mike back in the mid 90s. Mike used to come into the store as a customer. We built a friendship, and over the years that friendship turned into a working relationship. So when we closed the store in 2004, I opened up another operation down at the Bostonian Hotel. It was more of a cigar lounge. We still carried some of the Ehrlich blends, tobacco blends. And due to, Boston regulations and some lease issues, I closed that business in 2013. And it was right around the time that Mike was talking about MLB and launching the first line, which was the Blue Label. So I wanted to get on board with him. And soon after that, we started talking a little bit about taking the Ehrlich brand and bringing it to the private label market. So the name and the logo has a lot of history, and we really wanted to capture that and keep it alive. So in 2015 at the trade show in New Orleans, Mike and I approached Ernesto Perez Carrillo, and we started this discussion about doing a private label cigar with him, and then launching it in 2016.
It's an absolutely sensational blend, and the history behind it just makes it even that more rich. And for everyone who knows me, I'm a self-proclaimed amateur historian, and so when I had heard the little bit of the history behind it, and then after having that conversation with you, Barry, was pretty incredible because
Right.
it's the roots are woven deep into the fabric of America, and you guys brought it to a different level. And with this, so Mike, why was it so important for you to continue this tradition and carry this name on as you guys have?
Yeah. So as Barry said, I used to go in there. So I got out of college in 1994 and went to work. First, I went to work in financial services, and ultimately in 1995, I went over to a company called Prudential Securities as a stockbroker. And my most of my professional career I've spent in investment management, stockbroker, Wall Street stuff. I now do cigars full time, but in around 1995, I was working with a senior stockbroker, and he said he was a cigar smoker, and he used to hand me cash. He'd say, "Here's some money. Go down to the Ehrlich store, and they have some cigars waiting for me, and make sure you get something for yourself." And he was buying me a cigar. Now, prior to that, I had smoked like occasionally, like a machine-made cigar, like a Moneymaker or something like that. So I had never really had a premium cigar yet. And so I go down, and the cigars he had me pick up the very first time were Ashton Classics and Avos. So I went and I said, look, add one more of those. And it happened to be an Ashton Classic Churchill. So I paid him the cash, and I smoked that that was my first premium cigar that I ever smoked, was bought from the Ehrlich store. And it was an Ashton Classic Churchill. And it changed everything, because I was occasionally randomly smoking, a Moneymaker or a Garcia Vega or something like that. And I said, these things are really different. I hope the FDA is listening, by the way. These things are actually, they're completely different. This is a different experience. So that's my entry into smoking and loving premium cigars, was really born out of the David P. Ehrlich store. And the David P. Ehrlich store is such a historic store that I used to travel for business a lot. And being on Wall Street, I was in New York a lot. And so I'd go to New York and I'd go into the Nat Sherman store. And one time I'll
Another
never forget.
iconic place, absolutely.
Yeah,
right.
The first time I ever went to the Nat Sherman store, Joel Sherman was behind the counter. I didn't know I didn't know who the hell he was, but now I do, obviously. So I went in, I bought some cigars, and he said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Boston." And he goes, "Oh, you must go to the Ehrlich store." That's how iconic the Ehrlich store was.
Right.
So and Barry knows, I used to be one of the regulars at his lounge, his cigar lounge and bar, and out in the Bostonian. And when he closed that down, it was a very sad day for me. The Ehrlich store was so iconic. I mean, I used to go in there every day at one point. Once I stopped working for the stockbroker and started being on my own, every day at lunch, I'd go down to the Ehrlich store. And when you walked into this store, just to give you a picture, it was an awesome, awesome, historic-looking tobacconist. You walk in, to the right, you had a little sitting area where people could sit and smoke, maybe 10 chairs.
Yeah, at the front of the store.
And the people that sat there were great people, but they would argue and debate about politics and everything else. And all I wanted to do was have a cigar. So I found myself, there was one chair in the very back of the store called the MacDonald chair. And I used to sit in that chair by myself. I could still hear the people arguing, but I didn't have to be a part of it. And I would just smoke a cigar.
So you'd still get entertained, but you wouldn't have to necessarily engage.
Yeah, I didn't want to be a part of it. I just wanted to relax and have a cigar, right? Well, that chair happened to be right next to Barry's office.
Right.
So Barry and I we got to know each other because I sat next to his office every day for years.
And we'd start having conversations. Yeah.
We built a friendship, right? So
right.
When the Ehrlich store closed down, it was a sad day. And then when the Churchill's Lounge, which was the David P. Ehrlich cigar bar, closed down, that was a sad day. And neither was to any fault of the Ehrlich company. It was just the city of Boston lost their roots. I mean, they basically are trying to put all the tobacco stores out of business. Mm-hmm. So once I decided that I was going to start MLB Cigars, I always had in my head, I want to get this Ehrlich brand back in the forefront. And so Barry and I had talked, and we went to the trade show in New Orleans, and Barry said, we should probably talk to Ernesto Carrillo. Because the Ehrlich store is one of the 3 or 4 first stores to ever bring in La Gloria Cubana.
Oh man, Ernesto what a great connection. That's awesome.
So we walked up to I'll never forget it. We walked up to the EPC booth. Ernesto's there. And I walk up and I said, Ernesto, you know Barry's family very well. This is Barry MacDonald's father's Paul MacDonald. And Ernesto went, "Paul, your father was such a great guy in the store and this, that, and the other." And then we said, we have an idea for a project. We want to bring the Ehrlich name back. We want to make a cigar named the David P. Ehrlich. And we want to do it with you. And he gave us each his business card, and he said, "Call me next week. Come down to Miami. It's done. We're going to do the project."
And that's how the process started.
And that's how it started.
Wow.
We started working on the project, and it's been unbelievable. I mean, it's been and to have the Ehrlich name out there and getting the notoriety that it's starting to get. I mean, it's still a very young brand, and we're a very small company, and we are the definition of boutique. I mean, we're growing at a nice rate, but we're still a boutique company, and we still have our hands in on every aspect of the development of everything. But to have the Ehrlich brand was very important to me. because it's where I started my love of cigars.
I mean, it it's incredible to me. I mean, it just kind of listening to both your stories there, how powerful this brand is, and how powerful this name is, because it's literally transcended generations. And
Yeah,
not only has it transcended generations, it's transformed generations. Because as you said, it used to be a man smoking a pipe. It started 150 years ago. It was deep rooted in the fabric of Boston, and and the cigar culture there. And then you guys are able to take it and completely build upon that, stand on the shoulders of that, and then just create a beautiful and awesome project and a great tribute to an
yeah,
incredibly historic and iconic place. Uh, like you said, Joel Sherman, mentioned it right off the
legend.
bat. Yeah, I mean, a legend like that mentions
Was a
something
great guy.
you gotta take note for sure.
Yeah.
So you guys, this isn't the only guy. This isn't the only line you guys offer. You guys also have the Imperial line, which is a completely different.
Uh-oh. I
Um,
lost you. There you go.
it's a completely different offshoot from this. The look is different, the feel is different, the blends are different, and everything. It's
Yeah.
got a very nautical theme to me. And if I'm making up stuff, you guys can just hit me from through
No,
the street if you
you're
want. But
nailing it so far.
Right. You're right on the
Um,
mark, Bear, on that.
so Mike, if you would, what is it about the nautical theme that you wanted to move forward, that you really enjoyed about it, that you wanted to carry into the cigar industry and your brand?
yeah. So my background in the cigar industry goes back to 2011. I really got in the cigar industry by accident. I was a cigar smoker, cigar lover, and I got pulled into owning half of El Tiante cigars. And without getting so many details, for one reason or another, I decided that I needed to shut that company down and start my own company. So I did that in 2013, and I released the first blend that I did on my own in 2014, and that was the Imperia, what I call the blue label, and it's a cigar that looks like this. This is the band here, um, and I was able to partner. So in the El Tiante venture, I partnered with Pepin and Jaime Garcia. We blended two blends; they were tremendous. And then I went into Imperia, and I was able to partner with Manuel Quesada, another legend in the industry. And I was trying to figure out, what am I going to name my cigar? I don't know what I don't. I wanted to name it something that was significant to me, but I didn't know what it would be. And my favorite place, literally on earth, is Newport, Rhode Island. I've had a summer house there for many years, and I said, okay, I want to name it Newport, something of Newport, but I can't name it Newport because there'd be a cigarette company that
Yeah.
would sue me and win. And I don't mind being sued. I just don't want to lose, and I would have lost that one. So I said, when you drive into Newport, Rhode Island,
The arrogance and the humility in that statement right there was just incredible. By the way,
did you like
I don't
that?
mind getting sued.
Yeah.
I would lose, and that's a problem.
Listen, I've been sued plenty of times, and if I lose, I don't like it. But I actually have not really ever lost a lawsuit. But anyways, but when you're on Wall Street, you get sued. That's what happens. People sue for stupid things. Anyways, so I'm not on Wall Street anymore, so I don't get sued anymore. But anyway, so when you go into Newport, there's a sign posted near what's called First Beach by the locals. It's really called Easton's Beach, and it has all the sister cities around the world to Newport, Rhode Island. One of them is Imperia, Italy. So I'm of Italian descent, and I said, you know what? I'm going to name my cigar Imperia. Pays homage to Newport, pays homage to my heritage, and so I named my cigar Imperia. Imperia is a sailing city like Newport is, and that's how I made the name. And so you'll notice in the Imperia band, actually I made a slight tweak to this, but in the original Imperia band, there's a shadow of a ship's wheel behind the word Imperia that has since changed to what has become the Imperia logo, which is that eagle logo, which looks a lot like this logo. I don't know if you can see that okay, but there's a sort of a very, it's like a Roman eagle. But anyway, so I've changed that shadowing on the bands from the ship's wheel to that Roman eagle logo. But there's actually on the back side of the original Imperia band, the blue label, there's a tab and it's got the silhouette of Italy, the country of Italy on it. And that's what it's for. And so that's how the nautical theme happened. Um, Newport, Rhode Island hosted the America's Cup for 50 consecutive years. It's the sailing capital of the world, indisputable. And so I decided to make a nautical theme. And the band, that blue band, is sort of a nautical color. And that's how that came about.
So when you guys worked with we just learned about how you guys started the project with Ernesto Perez Carrillo, and how about that? I mean,
Yeah.
could you pick two of the largest icons in the industry to work with? I mean,
You know, I
basically working with the best of the best there.
Bear, I
Been
tell
very
people
fortunate.
I tell people all the time that I have my time in the cigar industry has been almost I can't even describe it. I mean, it's like I start off and I do two blends with Don Pepin Garcia and Jaime Garcia, right?
Right.
Then my next venture, I do the Imperia with Manuel Quesada. Tremendous guy and an inaugural member of the Cigar Aficionado Hall of Fame. Then we do the Ehrlich with Ernesto Perez Carrillo, also an inaugural member of the Cigar Aficionado Hall of Fame. I've worked with three of the most legendary blenders that have ever made cigars. And I can't tell you how much I've learned from those folks, and it's really been incredible. And so for me to be able to work with these three people to make cigars has been unbelievable to me. I mean, they're all great people. They've all been great to me. And I've learned so much from them, and everything, all of our success, I owe a large part of that to them.
Absolutely fantastic. So if we could go back, I wanted to take back just a little bit of the conversation because I was curious, because Barry, you were working in the same location for a long time. Mike was a customer of yours for years on end. So Mike mentioned that some of the first cigars that not necessarily he reached for, but that he got for his colleague on Wall Street was some of the Ashton and Avos. What cigar back in the same time frame when you actually, because you started in the late 80s, right? Working
late 80s, yeah.
So what were you smoking in the late 80s?
Well, I mean, back then the whole landscape of the cigar industry was totally different.
And that's why I'm asking the question.
There really wasn't much in the way of boutiques yet. So, I mean, I was smoking cigars. I mean, I think the first cigar I ever smoked there was a Punch Rothschild. But I was smoking Ashtons when they came out. I would smoke Hoya de Monterey. I smoked some old cigars like Canary de Oro, Royal Jamaican back in the day. And then, when Rocky Patel came out with Indian Tobacco, his first line, I was smoking some of those. But, in our store back in those days, in the late 80s, you might have had 15, 20 premium brands of cigars. Mm-hmm. And things didn't really start to change until Fuente got into the premium side of the business, and they rolled out the 858, and Ashton came out,
and then the boom happened.
And then you had and then the cigar boom. And when the cigar boom happened,
right when Mike got into smoking, right then. Gosh.
And then a lot of cigars came onto the market. Some of them good, and some of them not so good. But I think
let's be very clear. Most of the cigars that came into the market during the cigar boom were not so good. There were
a
lot of really bad cigars, and one of the contrasts between then and now is I actually think right now there are more great cigars on the market than ever before.
I agree with you.
I 100%.
I was just in Atlanta. I got back Saturday from Atlanta, and when I was down there, I can't even tell you the name of the cigar. I wish I had a few drinks that night, but I can't even tell you the name of the cigar. But somebody handed me a cigar I've never heard of, never seen. I smoked it. I go, this cigar's unbelievable, really good. I don't know what it was. I wish I could help the audience, but I'll find out. I'll text them who gave it to you. I'll give it to you. I'll give the name to you, Bear, and you can put it out there. But
fantastic,
really a great cigar. And so the reason I bring that up is there are so many great cigars, and let me tell you that the boutique cigar companies, even the ones that haven't made it, and there's been plenty that haven't made it, Many of them have made great cigars,
Mm-hmm.
but the barrier to entry into cigar retailers is not easy. It's a very high hurdle to cross because these cigar
I
retailers,
agree.
they're the successful cigar retailers don't have empty humidors. They don't have any space.
Right.
So in order to get into their humidor, you have to kick somebody out, right?
Pretty much.
And the vast majority of us will not talk badly about anyone else's cigar, even if we don't like it. So now we have to do it where we say, hey, our cigar is great because of this, and here's what we do. And we explain why they should bring it in, but they have to kick somebody out to bring us in. So there have
Right.
been plenty of great cigars that have gone away because they couldn't get into enough stores. And so it's a very challenging, competitive market.
I
But
mean, even
there
more
are,
so than now, it's a
I,
relationship business, right?
no,
it
there's no
is.
doubt about that.
Yeah.
That's why we do so many events. I mean, I was just in Atlanta. I just got back from Atlanta Saturday. I'm going out next Saturday again. I'm going out in 6 days. I'm going to be there again. And I travel to Texas a lot, and I go. I was in Seattle a few weeks ago, and so there's a lot of travel and connecting with the customers, and it is a relationship business. And there's essentially a few ways to build this business. One of which is you've got to use the model that Rocky Patel perfected better than anybody, which is get your ass on a plane, travel somewhere, and connect with customers, and that's what we do. And
Getting
we do
into
great
the
events.
stores and building the relationships. Yeah. I mean, it's very key.
It brings about it, and I think you illustrated it probably a lot better than anyone that I've ever heard, Mike, in the fact that it's not just about creating a great cigar. There like you said, there are more great cigars now than any time before. But if you want to get into a humidor, ultimately, possibly one of
Yeah,
your friends gets kicked out.
yeah,
Because this relationship is so close knit and everything, and so it's a delicate balance. Plus,
it
the
is.
retailer doesn't want to fray the relationship that they've built with that other person that they now have to move out of the humidor, and it's a very delicate balance, and
It is.
it's probably the best illustration that I've ever heard anyone say, Mike. So
Hey,
hats
listen,
off on that.
if I had $1 for every retailer that told me, listen, we love your cigars, we know you do a good job with events, but we don't have room. I would have. I mean,
You would have retired.
I would have retired. I mean, so it's, and I get it. I understand. And I'm a very patient guy. I mean, like, for instance, we just got into a massive retailer in San Antonio. I don't know if you want me to mention names, but I don't need to do that. But it happened at the show. But that process took 2 years.
Right.
And we met with them. We talked to them. They all loved our cigars. Finally, they brought it in, and now the cigars are flying off their shelves. And so and we're doing an event there in November. But it's 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 getting into the shelf. My attitude is, look, we have 5 blends. All 5 blends are different from each other. My goal as a cigar maker is to make cigars that no two are too alike. I want to make
They're all different.
I want to
Right.
make them all
Yeah.
different. And the reason I want to do that is I want to hit everybody's palate. So if somebody doesn't like the David P. Ehrlich, they might like the Imperial Blue Label. If they don't like the Blue Label, they might like the PLM. If they don't like that, they might like the Aventador. So I've got 5 cigars that are out there that are very different from each other. And I know right now we have a cigar for pretty much every palate, almost every palate. It's just a matter of building that connection with the consumers, with
Right.
the managers of the stores, with the
And the
owners of the
customers.
stores,
Yeah. I
and
mean, getting this.
I will tell you that when we do events at stores,
Mm.
they are memorable. We have a great time. It is a party, and we have great swag and all that stuff. But it's not even about that. It's about interacting with the customers. The stores that we do the best at are the ones where we've sat and spent time with the customers. And there's
Right.
no better part of this business, in my view, than sitting down with customers and spending significant time with them, getting to know them. It's. I went back to Atlanta. I haven't been to Atlanta in 8 months because I've been traveling. We're nationwide now, so it's been like I've been traveling all over the place. So I can't go to the same market more than 2 or 3 times a year. So I go to Atlanta. I was there this past week, and I see old people I haven't seen, customers and managers, and they're coming up and, man, where you've been? We missed you. This, that, and the other. I'm like, listen, I love Atlanta. I want to come back. And I got guilted almost into coming back again that Saturday. I wasn't planning to go next Saturday. But there's a massive event there, and the owner of the store that runs this event said, "We want you to be one of the vendors at the event. Can you come?" I was sitting in the store. I went online and I booked my flight. And that's because the customers and the relationships, and this is absolutely a relationship business. And when people talk about the cigar lifestyle, there really is a cigar lifestyle. That's not a cliche. That really does exist.
No,
And
absolutely.
Yeah.
that's the
And
way we build our business.
lifestyle and uh, taking into account how impeccably you were dressed, Mike, and as you always
Yeah,
are. The cigar lifestyle is not the big executive sitting in his huge private suite anymore. It's very much a community. There are men, there are
yeah,
women, there are all walks of life, all different financial levels, different classes, different people. And that's what makes this industry, I've said it time and time again, that's what makes this industry truly fabulous, is because you can be sitting next to a brain surgeon and a janitor and just share an awesome, amazing moment with these.
Right.
these are the great uniter. We can have different political views. We can have different. You can have, like you said, you can have a multi-millionaire from Wall Street or from uh, the medical field or whatever, and you can have a janitor, and we can all sit down, and nobody cares what
Nobody
somebody's
cares.
background is. It's just let's enjoy a cigar. And
Absolutely.
so it is an awesome, awesome lifestyle. There's no doubt about it.
And I have heard amazing things about your events, and that's absolutely true. And I've, as a retailer, guys, I work in the retail sector too, and as you know, and the
Hmm.
the it is absolutely, you guys hit the nail on the head. It is absolutely imperative. I have been part of great events, and I have been part of very poor events. And
Hmm.
the absolute difference, the biggest difference, there are a number of factors in between, but the biggest difference between the poor and the great are when gentlemen and ladies and people who are at the head of the companies like you, ambassadors, owners, vice presidents, reps, when the people of the company get involved, they're up having those relationship talks with the customers, getting involved with the folks, and not even talking about their cigars, just having the conversation, connecting with them on a human level.
Yeah,
That's what
agree.
makes it a great event.
Enjoying
Yeah,
a common interest, the culture. Yeah.
I've made so many friends with people that I never would have met. And I'm not talking about like just going to a cigar shop. And these are people that now I communicate with regularly, right? So I've met people out on the road that have now become very dear friends of mine, and that is only a cigar can do that. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing thing, and we try to be. Look, Barry and I and my company, and we are who we are, right? So we don't go into an event and act differently than we would act any other time, but we're all about having a good time. We're all about enjoying the lifestyle of having a great cigar. And I can sit down and talk with the crowd and hang out, and we make a connection. And that is really the essence of how we've built our brands. It's the key, for
Absolutely.
sure.
So, gentlemen, I'm gonna wrap up with this last question, but I'm gonna ask you both. I wanted to hear you both your thoughts on this. We've mentioned a lot of fabulous people tonight, and you guys
Mm-hmm.
included with that, from Joel Sherman to your marketing director Alexandra, Ernesto Perez Carrillo, and of course Manuel Quesada. Wonderful people that you guys have the privilege of working with or meeting along the way and everything. But one of the projects that you guys have now, or projects, the business that you guys are doing now, you guys have back in April, you guys started your own distribution company in a partnership with
Mm-hmm.
uh, Matilda. So it is now Sable Distribution. So
Right.
Hmm.
Sejas and Bellody coming together,
Mm-hmm.
and for distribution for of both all of your brands, of course, and
Right.
everything. So I wanted to, we talked about the icons that you work with, and now let's enter in. We can't not mention the next icon that you guys also get to work with now, and the Jose Sejas and his son Enrique,
Right.
as part of your distribution part of your business. So Barry, what when you when you guys started first talking about this and it first came to be, like, what was your thought about working with a legend like Jose and his son Enrique?
Well, I had known Enrique from Matilde, and because Casada was distributing their cigars, and we had a relationship with them, not on a direct level. But Enrique's a great guy. I mean, we've done events with him, Mike and I, in the past. We've traveled with him, so there's just a lot of compatibility in that relationship, between Mike and Enrique forming that company. And from my perspective, it's just been a very smooth transition. And he's a great guy to work with. I just,
No doubt.
we shared the house with him at the IPCPR. We had a great time. So nothing but good things, really. I've really enjoyed working with him. And, and the crossover in the relationship between MLB and Matilde.
And Mike, what was how did this actually come to pass? Was it when you guys were you guys ending near both of y'all's contracts as far as distribution, and you guys were looking for another resource? And like, how did the relationship end up becoming Sable Distribution?
Yeah, so I knew Enrique from before I even did our distribution deal with Quesada. So as Barry alluded to, Matilde had been distributed by Quesada since 2015. And in 2017, I did a distribution deal with Quesada, and they make 3 of our 5 blends. So it was a very natural thing. And what happened was Quesada came to me and they said, look, we see your factory orders increasing in size and frequency. You're clearly growing, and we think we can help you to get to the next level. And so we came to an agreement to have them distribute MLB cigars, both the Imperial lines and the Ehrlich lines. And that went fine, and everything was good. But it got to a point where I said, number one, I wanted to have control of that. One of the negative parts of having somebody else distribute your cigars is you lose control over some things.
Right.
And number two, we had grown to a point where it just made sense for us to self-distribute. It was just the right time. So Enrique and I had been talking, and he was at a point and I was at a point, and we said, well, why don't we form a distribution company and get our own warehouse and do everything that we were having done at Quesada, but let's do it ourselves. And instead of paying somebody else our distribution fee, let's pay our own distribution company our distribution fee. And then that distribution company should at least break even, if not make money. And it has made money since we started, which is a great thing. But what it's done for us is it's allowed us a much more cohesive, direct line of communication to our retailers. And it allows us to have more control over how we support our retailers. It allows us to handle our shipping and receiving and logistics a little bit with more control. And so really it has been an incredible transition. I love the Quesada family. They still make my Imperial cigars. They've been nothing but great to me, and I love them all. But it was just time for us to do our own thing. And I have to say that when you do that, there's a lot of sort of unknowns, right? You go into this thing, you're like, all right, we're going to self-distribute. We're going to, we had to first make sure that the sales reps that we had would stay with us. And pretty much everyone that we wanted to stay with us said, yeah, absolutely, we'll stay with you, because we have great relationships with our sales force. And then you never know what hiccups are going to come up. Enrique and I were very nervous about this whole thing from the standpoint of, all right, great, we start shipping products. Stuff goes wrong. What do we do? Really, we haven't had many hiccups at all.
That's great.
So it's really been a tremendous transition. And we have some other ideas of how we can take Sable distribution to the next level. There are several companies that can use our logistics and warehousing, and we've recently taken on the distribution in the U.S. for an accessories company that is called Sean Christian Luxury Leather. He makes incredible handmade leather cigar cases. And,
nice.
So we distribute these now, and we have some ideas for how to grow the distribution side, because that's a real business. originally when we started that business, we didn't really care if it made money. We just wanted to break even. It was really just the pipeline to get our cigars on the market, right?
Right.
Well, now we look at it, we go, this is a real business. So we're going to really enhance that, and we might start warehousing for other companies, letting them use our logistics expertise that we have. We have a great staff down in the Dominican Republic that handles our warehouse. We have a great in-house sales staff and things like that. So we've had companies approach us. We're not quite ready to bring them in yet because we're still so new. It only happened in April.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's one thing if we're distributing our own cigars, and something doesn't go quite right, which, as I've said, has so far we've been fine. But
Barry's sitting over there knocking on wood too, by the way, as you're saying that. So.
yeah, I don't want to bring in somebody else's cigar line and have something going on for them. So we want to make sure we've got every I dotted, every T crossed.
Right.
But within the near future, we're going to start to do this stuff for other companies.
Yeah, put you in a great opportunity to look at other projects.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic. Well, gentlemen, I'm glad that September 23rd came, and so that I could finally, I've been saving this Tremont that Barry handed me in Vegas.
Yeah, we could have handed you a few more, you know.
I'm glad you're enjoying it there.
I smoked plenty there, so that's Barry wasn't stingy at all. So I smoked plenty there, but I held on to one because I wanted to save it for this show that I knew we were going to get scheduled at some point. So I'm glad it came to pass tonight, and I really appreciate your gentlemen's time. So we're
Bear, we thank you for having us on. You're a great dude, and we enjoyed having you at the house in Vegas, and you'll be at our house next year, I hope, and because we will have a house in Vegas again for the trade show next year. And you're a true brother of the Leaf, and we appreciate everything you do. And I'll be in Texas in November. I don't know the dates, but I'll definitely see you over at your retail. You want me to name your? Can I name?
Yeah, I mention Michael's all the time.
All right, I'll see you over at Michael's. I'll see you at Michael's. I'm down there for sure.
Great supporter of what I do here, and one of the best. I'm truly blessed. The people I get to work with, I get to talk to amazing gentlemen like you every week, and I get to work for Mike Peacock,
who, by the way, is a tremendously great guy.
Yes, he is. Absolutely.
And you know, it runs an incredible retailer in one of the best, in my view, the best cigar market in the country is Texas. And he runs one of the best of the best.
Thank you very much. Very kind. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Pleasure to work with him. And I get to work with a buddy of yours, too. I get to work with Coop, of course, on Cigar Prime Time. So,
great guy.
Great guy.
Surrounded by greatness
cigar
constantly.
Encyclopedia.
Yes.
Super.
Encyclopedia of a lot of things, not just cigars.
Ask him about a blend from but he's a Giants fan. That's his one problem.
Nobody's perfect, Mike. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah. Although the Patriots just lost 26-10, but to the Detroit Lions. But anyways,
terrible news.
If you ask Coop about a blend from 1982, he'll tell you what the blend was.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that'll about wrap it up. I appreciate everyone who tuned in. We appreciate all your likes, shares, and comments as always. I was joined tonight. This was our 47th take, and I was live from the Casa Cueva studios of Euless, Texas.
Wow.
Joined by the great Mike Bellody and the great Barry MacDonald of MLB Cigar Ventures. It was an absolute pleasure to
thank you, my friend.
You guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bear, for having us on.
Absolutely. So for everyone out there, we really appreciate all your likes, shares, and comments. Keep them coming. We've got a great schedule. Check it out on our Facebook page, El Oso Fumar. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're going to find some fantastic videos. If you get caught up, we've had some great guests. We're going to have even more great guests, just like we did tonight. So for everyone out there, I'm Barry Duplessis. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.